What's up, guys? Welcome to BitCast, episode 36 for the week of August 27th, 2017. I'm your host, Jake Martin. In the studio this week, unfortunately, we have nobody. It's just me this week because we had some scheduling conflicts, and I wanted to make sure I just got something out to all the listeners out there. So stay tuned for how much of a train wreck this might be. However, I am excited just to deliver some cool news to you guys this week. So right off the bat, today I'll be discussing Switch Rocket League Battle Cars, new Arms Fighters Lollipop. She's like a clown with nunchucks. PayPal options arrive on Switch, which I'll talk about why that's important to note. There's some pretty big Overwatch overhauls, as I've called them, and this would be a great instance in which I had Matt on the podcast. However, I think I know enough about them to give you guys a breakdown on that, as well as some VR price drops, both for PSVR and HTC Vive. I'll talk about 2D Metroid just for a second, Mario and Rabbids, because that game is dope. And finally, but not least, the main topic of the show, which is the SNES Classic Nightmare. But not really a nightmare for me. So a bit of housekeeping. If you are a listener of the podcast, please do make sure to subscribe to us on iTunes. If you want to be a part of the show, though, this is my biggest thing. I talked about it last week. Please subscribe to our email list because I would love to have your questions or just your topics that you want us to talk about and cover on the podcast. I think it'd be a fun way to incorporate anybody that listens and have your questions right off on the air. As well as just if you want to check out BitBloggist.com, you can leave comments on anything we have there as well. So to do that, again, make sure to reach out at BitCast@BitBloggist.com. That is BitCast@BitBloggist.com, which is the email you should send all of your stuff to. I changed it. It used to be crew, and that's just for more interpersonal stuff now. So that's all the housekeeping stuff. But first, I wanted to talk quickly about what I'm playing right now, which is Mario Rabbids. I just got it on release night from Amazon Prime. Shout out Amazon Prime. And I didn't get a chance to play it the first night, but then I finally got home late, and I decided to sit down and just crack it open on the old Switch in handheld mode while I was about to go to bed. And let me tell you something, guys. That was a dope game. So far, I wrote a brief synopsis on our Facebook page if you want to check that out. But basically, it has all the polish of a Ubisoft game and a Nintendo game combined, if that makes sense. So Ubisoft in the sense of more their Ubi art stuff. The art direction is fantastic. Grant Kirkhope is the composer for like games like Banjo-Kazooie, 007, and more recently Yooka-Laylee. He did the soundtrack for this, so I was super impressed off the bat just by like the audio-visual stuff that was going on, and then the story writing as well was very good so far. I've only played an hour, but if you were thinking about picking that game up and you own a Switch, I would absolutely just put it on your radar. I'm gonna have a full review up hopefully by next week, talking about just everything you need to know in terms of buying it. However, first impressions are awesome. I love the game, and I can't wait to play more this weekend. And we're recording this Thursday, so yeah, this is a little bit later of a podcast as well. And then drink of the show right now is a nice Pete's Big Bang coffee, medium roast. Did this in the style of a French press, so it's a little stronger and a little bit more mealy, but it's nonetheless still very tasty. So 1 second. Oh wow, that is delicious. All right, so off into the news. First on the list, we had Gamescom this week, so a bunch of announcements came out of that, but nothing really super big to note of. There's more, I'm sure. I've looked through the list of like big announcements, and I'll probably talk about that next week. However, the things that I was super excited about was the Switch Rocket League Battle Cars. This sounds stupid, and I know that we've talked about this in the past, but Rocket League's an awesome game. It has huge worldwide appeal, but being able to have Luigi cars, or specifically in this case, the Samus car, is more or less what I'm excited about. And it's only on the Switch, obviously, because it's a Nintendo-related product. But nonetheless, this is enough to make me at least just want to buy Rocket League again. because I already have it for Switch, or I'm sorry, for PS4 when it came out for free a long time ago. But I think just having this on the go and the cool, maybe future DLC that could also come from this. I don't know what else I'd want to see, like maybe like a Yoshi car, maybe like an actual Mario Kart, like it looks like a giant go-kart or something like that. That'd be pretty cool. So that was announced, and I don't know. I'm pretty excited to see what the final product is. I don't know if we have an actual release date yet. I was hoping to get that from the Nindy showcase this week, but there was nothing on Rocket League. So stay tuned on that. Up next was the Arms Fighter Lollipop, announced for Arms, the game that everyone was excited about when it first came out and now has kind of forgotten about. And I'm kind of in that camp too. Arms is a good game, but it's not a perfect game in the sense that it's not well designed in the way that you want to come back to it frequently. You can kind of get tired pretty quick. Unlike a game like Splatoon, where you are constantly incentivized to continue grinding out levels and you're working towards that next weapon or whatever. Arms doesn't really do that. It's all, again, it's the same thing I have the issue with Overwatch, where everything's randomly awarded to you and you can't work towards something. It's like, oh man, I want that next gun for my character. That doesn't exist in Arms. It's like literally you just work and then you unlock stuff randomly for any character. And it just, I don't know, it takes a long time. So for me and my time restrictions, not a big fan of Arms. However, I'm still impressed with Nintendo releasing DLC for this game. Again, Lollipop is a clown with nunchucks, looks very different than what they've released in the past. And there's a new stage that comes with it. It looks like the streets of France with, I guess you could say, just vendors around the edges and like little restaurants here and there. So I thought that was pretty cool. But that's really all I have to say about Arms. If you have Arms, let me know if it's something you care about. But for me, honestly, I saw this announcement. I was like, cool, probably not going to touch that. 1 second. Normally, when my co-host talks, I have time to sip my coffee or take a breather, but that's not the case today. So the next thing I want to talk about real quick is PayPal arriving on Switch. There's not much to say about this, but we are getting closer to a fully functional virtual console, I think, with the announcement of this and the adoption of this. PayPal is a worldwide service, and I think this just signals that Nintendo is taking their e-commerce stuff very seriously if they're allowing other third-party options to at least exist on the console. Because in the past, it's always been through Nintendo's original design or system or internal stuff, and this was just a good sign. With all the SNES stuff coming out and all the virtual console old games we're getting through that medium, this at least gives me confidence in seeing, okay, Nintendo realizes that people do use this. So hopefully this is a good sign. So check out on that. I actually just registered for a PayPal account so I could try and apply for the Nintendo's ambassador program. So we'll see how that goes. Excuse me. But up next, I want to talk about Overwatch. And there's two huge things that have happened. So Diva was the smaller of the two. She's getting some huge changes in the terms of she can no longer, her defense matrix does not last as long. But to kind of balance that out and not make everyone mad, they also give her the ability to shoot while she's flying around. And she also gained a new ability, which is like launching missiles, which sounds awesome. So I don't know if it's alive in the PTR or not yet, but that seems really cool. And again, like I said, I've always been bad about checking in on Overwatch and playing. Again, Matt would be the person who can kind of tell you what he thinks about it. So maybe when we have him on the podcast next time, he can let us know how it's going out there. But the next one that was just regarding Overwatch is an update for like a new map, which is Junktown or Junkertown, and essentially it's just where Junkrat's from, and it looks like a new like cool location to kind of do some stuff. And the other person that got an overhaul, actually I forgot about this, was Mercy. Mercy seems like she's going to be a complete badass now because she can now revive people. It's not her ultimate. She can revive them every like 24 seconds or 25 seconds, but you can only revive one person at a time. So what they've done is they've increased her attack power, which allows her to be more combative and on the offense and be around her team without having to hide as much. And then it also it keeps people playing Mercy probably the way that Blizzard and Jeff Kaplan hoped that they would. So overall, I think with the dawn of Overwatch and these, Destiny and all these games that are continually being updated, I think developers are seeing a big return, and that's a good way to keep people engaged, keep people playing your game. What I would like to see is like what their monetary gain is from this, like because a lot of the times it's all free DLC. I know with Overwatch it's all free, so I'm wondering. I mean, people will spend money on loot boxes, but that's the only really big monetary gain I can see. Maybe word of mouth when people are playing the game still 2 years from now, and like their friends just got a PS4 or an Xbox or a PC, and they're like, "Oh, you got to get Overwatch. I play it all the time. It's awesome." So I think there's like multiple reasons, but I would like to see what the main monetary gain is from just releasing free DLC consistently, because obviously Nintendo sees the value in it as well. So I'm interested to see how that evolves in the future. So the next thing I want to talk about would be VR price drops. So the HTC Vive got a permanent price drop to $599.99, I think, which is $200 less than what it used to be. And whenever I heard about the Vive, I always knew that it was, I believe, the most expensive rig on the market. And so this is cool to see because I think, well, cool or potentially not good to see, because I think with this, we're getting, more people that are able to purchase the rig and use it on their PC. And then again with the PlayStation VR, same exact thing. I think they dropped it. It wasn't as big of a price drop, but nonetheless, it's cheaper to get now if you want to pick up one. So I think on one side we're seeing that people are not adopting the technology. They're not really buying into it, both literally and figuratively. And I think this is just a sign that like, hey, we want to make this more accessible, and price is a good way to go about that. But I'm still concerned that people aren't really going to. They're not just like they don't care about VR, and I am one of those people. I'm an individual who doesn't necessarily want the VR. Like I see the value of it. I see how cool it could be, But for me, from a monetary standpoint, it's just a little too much, and I just don't know. I'm not convinced yet. So I think this is a sign of that. However, I hope that this is also a goodwill trying to get more people to buy into their stuff so they can make more games and kind of foster in this next generation of AR or VR or whatever they want to do. Okay, coffee break, 1 second. Okay. So the next thing I want to talk about real quick would be the 2D Metroid. He basically came out. The developer said through the development, and this is from Nintendo Life, I believe. He said through the development of Metroid: Samus Returns, I was able to really grasp the possibility and fun of a 2D Metroid. Like when I finished the first game, if there is another opportunity to make another Metroid, that is something that I would love to do. Of course, that really depends on how much people really want to buy a 2D Metroid. So he basically came out and said, and this is important because Metroid Samus Returns comes out September 15th. So that's pretty soon, like 2 weeks here. And basically he's saying, if the sales numbers are good on this game, I will absolutely make another one, or I will consider it at least. But again, it shows that money, like if you really like, fans have been wanting Metroid games for so long. We got Metroid Prime 4 finally announced, and we have this on the horizon very, very soon. So to me, he's basically saying like, we have a 3D and a 2D Metroid. We haven't released a true successor, a true 2D Metroid in quite some time. So if the demand is still there, if this game sells really, really well, then we will absolutely still consider making one. I foresee them, like I said in the past, I foresee them making this for the Switch eventually. It doesn't make sense that it wouldn't be able to be ported to the Switch. I know there could be like a second screen operation thing, but even there, you could put that on the Switch if you wanted to. Or maybe the technology exists where you could kind of do both, like the bottom screen on the Switch, top screen, I don't know. So that'll be interesting because it is for the 3DS or 2DS XL. But nonetheless, if you like Metroid, please go buy this game. And of course, if you have a 3DS, don't just buy the game to buy the game. But also recently, they did this really cool thing where the cover of the game actually has a reversible cover. So it's the way it gets shipped is the standard futuristic, updated model of Samus. But then if you flip it over, you take the paper insert out and flip it over, it's actually the retro Samus Returns Game Boy logo, or like just cover art, and it looks really cool. So for me, and I believe that's only the collector's edition. One second. So, and I don't ever usually buy collector's editions, but this is one that I was like, if it's affordable, I would check it out. So, Metroid Prime, Samus Returns, or just Metroid Prime is just in my head. Metroid Samus Returns. If that's a game that interests you, please do check it out, because he will ultimately decide if he wants to make another one based on how it sells. Up next, we had some Mario Rabbids DLC that got announced. It's $20, just like the Breath of the Wild DLC. And with this, you get a few things. I'm going to try and zoom in here, make sure I can read this. You get, at launch, 8 exclusive steampunk weapons. And then in fall of 2017, there is a new solo challenge and co-op map, which is really cool. I love the co-op idea. And then in 2018, there is a new unexpected story content. So this makes me happy, but also concerns me a little bit, because like I was just saying a second ago, I love this free DLC trend we're seeing. But Nintendo and sort of Ubisoft here in this instance, with Breath of the Wild being just the first party, but with Mario Rabbids, this is a game that people have to kind of step out on because they're not really sure if it's for them. So to offer a $20 season pass is interesting to me, because you're asking a lot of your buyers. So like, hey, this is a game that's not really Mario. It's kind of weird. It's not by us, but pay $20 and you'll get some more story content. And it looks like it's kind of the same tier. It's odd that co-op maps and solo challenges were kind of hidden away from the main game. And then, of course, the story content is coming way later. And that's the same exact thing that happened with Zelda, where you got hard mode and a bunch of these other weird things in like the hero trial, I forget what it's called. But regardless, and then the story DLC that everyone kind of really wanted is locked away for a later date. And it is what it is, but part of me is happy to see Nintendo also treating their IP like a business. They're making sure that they're making money on this stuff. $20 is a good price for DLC. I've seen, we don't want EA level DLC where it's just outrageously expensive and you have to buy it before the game actually comes out. And in the case of Battlefront 1, that was a poor choice most of the time. All right, and then I think we are now about to just jump to the main topic. So one last sip of coffee. Oh, yeah. So this was actually 2 weeks ago. Pre-orders started coming out. Basically, I have a whole timeline here typed out for you guys. So the SNES Classic pre-order debacle is what I'm calling this. Amazon and Best Buy went up for sale on the 22nd at ridiculous hours. I believe it was like 3 a.m. or like 4 a.m. in the morning for us, Eastern. And even if you're trying to justify time zones, it doesn't really make sense in the U.S. to release pre-orders at that time, because in the West Coast, it's 1 a.m. and Mountain Time, it's 2 a.m. So, I mean, there's people awake, but not normal people, or not people who probably have the money to spend on said SNES Classic systems. So, already I remember waking up and getting to work and seeing all the hubbub about the pre-orders already going up and they're already sold out. And I was like, cool, great, my nightmares came true. Definitely not getting one now. And so, I was checking all of Twitter. I literally had like 17 tabs open, trying to make sure that we can get everything we wanted to get. I was texting my friends. Matt sits in front of me, so he and I were talking back and forth, trying to like help each other out. Like, do you see it on here? I'm checking Target. I'm checking this, and to no avail. Like, we got on Target first. Went up at like 1 Eastern Standard Time, sold out in literally 20 seconds. And then GameStop shortly after that, but their site broke, and they were like, oh, if you want to come in, if you want to pre-order, you actually have to come into our physical locations and pre-order it here. And they were trying to say to combat scalpers, which yes, that would do it, but at the same time also I think literally their site was broken. They were like, crap, what do we do? It's like, they can only come into the store now because we can't fix it. So that was a nightmare. And then Walmart had a second shipment a little bit later in the week of pre-orders on Thursday. This was last week, and so just a whole bunch of hullabaloo and garbage. But the same day, on the 22nd, when GameStop announced that they were going to be doing in-store pre-orders, my wife called me and she was like, "Hey, GameStop is doing pre-orders right now. Do you want me, or like, are you going to be able to go get those?" And I was like, I was in a meeting at work, and I was like, "Nah, I can't. I'm so sorry. Like, I'm not sorry, but I'm like, this sucks. Nothing I can do about it. Whatever. Hopefully they release more down the road." I had given up. I had lost all hope. And so, my day goes on, and then, I think 30, 45 minutes later, I get a call from my wife, and her words were, "Happy birthday." And I was like, "What?" And she had secured one. See, she had gotten an SNES Classic by going to a random GameStop here, and she apparently got the very last one that the store had in stock or had, set for sale. And needless to say, I am super excited for the end of September to receive this SNES Classic. But there's the secret right there, guys. If you wanted to, have success in life, you got to find a really great wife. That rhymes. You're welcome. I'm just talking to myself here. I feel ridiculous. One second. But that's not where it stopped. So I got the SNES Classic, and I'm pumped. And I felt bad for a lot of my friends who weren't able to get one, or who didn't have somebody that could be amazing and leave work in the middle of the day and go pick one up for their husband or special person or significant other. But I have one, and so I'm still checking all these boards, trying to make sure that anybody that still wanted one, I could at least slip some information away, like, "Hey, I just saw this. Go check out Target again, see if they have some up." Amazon released a statement saying that anyone who had multiple pre-orders would have their stock drop to just one per customer, which is a big deal. And this is a big deal because there is a thing called a Tai Ding Bot. It sounds ridiculous, but it is this piece of software that you can download to your computer. And I think it originally was built for us, like people, like this is a bad term, but sneakerheads, like people that want to get the latest like shoes and then sell them on the street or sell them from like their own like website or whatever. And they built this bot so that they could pre-order a ton of shoes as soon as they go up for pre-order at a rate faster than any human could possibly do. I forget like what the checkout speed is. Like it has the ability to put the item in the cart and check out simultaneously, and then like process the transaction as fast as the website will do it. So realistically, if you don't even have to worry about getting on the website, you literally just say, "Yes, do this with this credit card. I want this many ordered." And it'll just do as many as it can as fast as it can. You can place that bot on any website that you want as well. So this is kind of a annoying and like maybe non-ethical or unethical thing to do, because normal people out there like you and I are trying to get our fair chance and get up early and try to buy these things, and we can't because we're trying to go against computers that can check out items in literally 2 seconds. So for me, from my standpoint, from an individual who was trying to get one, and like literally the only way we got one was by going to a physical location and getting the very last one, it's ridiculous. And I'm very glad that Amazon did this by basically taking away all the ones that had 99 pre-orders or however many like pre-orders that people actually were able to secure with these. Very, very glad that Amazon was like, "Hey, we realize that this is an issue, and we can see how many pre-orders are tied to one account. So obviously, we'll just go ahead and delete these guys and make sure we can give everyone else a fair share or a fair shot." And I was reading an article about a guy that actually created the bot, and he said, like, he's, from his standpoint, he's like, "Look, people can pay for it if they want to. It's not cheap. It's like $200 for this software." And he said, "Look, if someone wants to pay for it and they want the stuff that bad, like, there's no ethical, like it's literally, there's nothing wrong with what it's doing. It's just an efficient piece of software that can make pre-ordering way easier for an individual." And he's right. He's right. In the world of capitalism and business and America, that makes sense. But unfortunately, you kind of forget about the little guy who was just trying to secure a SNES for his son or maybe for himself, who is a lapsed gamer who's like, oh man, I remember the SNES. I remember being able to play this when I was growing up. I'd love to have all these games again. And he tries to go on, and then he's discouraged and he's burnt by Nintendo. But ultimately, what's actually creating that bad experience is partly Nintendo's fault because of the short supply. But more or less, it's because of the bots like this stuff and the technology that's available to just mass pre-order stuff. So I wanted to talk about that just because, to anyone out there that wants to try and get, a SNES for your own personal use, not to try and resell. Good news is that Amazon recognizes and they're going to try and resell them to you probably sometime here soon before next month. So keep your eye on announcements. I would say just check Twitter. There's a guy named Wario64, Wario64, and he, for some reason, knows when everything is happening before it happens. I would say just follow him, subscribe to his updates, and he'll let you know if pre-orders are going to go up anywhere else, because he has a pretty good pulse on that kind of stuff. So that really is all I wanted to talk about. Oh, I guess one last thing with the Tai Ding Bot. It was, oh gosh, I just forgot what I was going to say. It's related to, you know what? I forgot what it was. Never mind. Just disregard. Maybe I'll think about it when I'm trying to close out the podcast. But that's it, guys. I really just wanted to just come down here and try and deliver the news in a appropriate way, as well as informing you of something interesting and giving you my take on it. Let me know how this was. I would like for BitCast to be conversational and have co-hosts, but sometimes it's a lot to ask people to be on the podcast. So that's not a guilt trip for any of my friends. That is literally just how it works sometimes, and I want to be consistent and make sure you guys at least get some episodes out of me. So let me know how you feel about it. And unfortunately, that is the end of our podcast. Remember, BitCast is a weekly podcast that covers most things video games and pop culture. I should have that memorized. I just read that off the computer here. Gentlemen, thank you so much for not being here. Remember to check out BitBloggist.com for any relevant news updates from us or from myself. Follow BitBloggist on Twitter or Instagram to see all my pictures of Disney and anything else that I'm playing, which is right now Mario Rabbids. And remember to send emails to bitcast@bitbloggist.com for any news updates. Anything you want to know regarding just what the week entailed. I'm going to send out newsletters also as well every single Friday of just everything I sent out, and anything else that if you don't want to read the news as much, I can provide just, hey, this is important, this is important, this is important. That's just kind of what I'm passionate about. So be sure to do that. And remember, the podcast is on Google Play, Stitcher, iTunes, all that jazz. If you have any Android or iOS devices, you can find it. But until next time, this has been BitCast. Thanks for tuning in. Let's talk about some stuff.